ultimate driving environment. Test drive the Peugeot 3008 today. Never has an SUV gone so far. See Peugeot.ie for details.
The Saturday panel on Off the Ball.
Thanks to Screwfix.ie. Championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products.
You're very welcome back, and it is our Saturday panel, our special morning after the All-Stars Saturday panel featuring Jonny Cooper, Paul Broderick, Colm Cavanagh and John Conlon. And I must say, we've had a record of terrible looking heads in the studio down through the years, but this morning is probably a record, lads. You're looking very fresh. You're very welcome along. We did a straw poll during the outbreak there, and only half of you went to Coppers last night, which is very, very sensible. I don't want to out you, but John and Paul, how was it?
It was good crack. So.
Good, yeah. Not up here too often, so made the most of it.
Yeah. I often think the All-Stars should just be held in Coppers and just cut out the middleman altogether. It was a good all night, but it looks things. I was watching it on TV myself, and there was certainly a sense of appreciation from certainly the big hurling winners in the night and the big football winners, in particular your teammate Brian Fenton last night, Johnny, in terms of the special nature of his award and the night in general.
Yeah, I think so. I think all the awards are very special, but certainly a Player of the Year is right up there with probably the biggest, or one of the biggest accolades you can get. He's been great for us the last couple of years, in fairness, as have other players, but he tends to I guess show up on the big stages, which is a testament to him and the work that he puts in. Yeah,
absolutely. John, the other thing that was very noticeable last night was the beautiful montages of the summer of hurling that we've had this year. The term hurling snobbery was mentioned about 3 or 4 times during the summer, which is of course justified given the summer of hurling that it was. I know from your own experience the way the season ended probably doesn't leave a lot of happy memories, but have you had time to reflect on what an unbelievable summer it was?
Oh yeah, looking back at it and meeting a lot of the players last night, like obviously there was a bit of jealousy towards the Limerick lads winning, but like from where I live, we're right on the border, so like I'm right at 10 minutes to Limerick City, so it was great to see them make that breakthrough, and that was the joys of it. It was a great summer of hurling, fantastic spectacles in every game. It was a nail biter, and look, it's going to be a great. Everyone's back at the bottom of the barrel again next year again, and they're looking forward to having a great year.
I can't imagine living close to the border would have been too easy over the last couple of months.
No, and especially where we live, there was more Limerick flags probably than Clare flags out. So, we're very, very close to the city where we live, and but look, that's the part of the GA, like the banter and the crack that goes on. So, you have to take the good with the bad, and hopefully we'll have be smiling with a different smile on our face next year by winning against Limerick and winning trophies and competitions.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it's almost like a roll of the dice next year, isn't it? It's almost like the 90s, which I'm sure is probably your earliest hurling memories. Like 95, I'm sure sits fondly in your memory. Do you think we're back at a stage where we're as competitive as the 90s, if not more competitive in hurling?
Yeah, well, look, the new format is a fantastic format. Usually you'll be waiting 3-4 weeks to play a game, and then if you lose, every game is dissected to every little snippet of the game is dissected, and you might go out and lose again in 4 weeks' time and be out of the championship, where this year you were playing a game week in, week out, and if you lose, you've a few hours to get to dust yourself down and get ready for the next game the week after, because if you dwell on it too much, you're going to be in trouble. So that's the way we played it, and that's the way I think a lot of teams played it. And look, you see Waterford and Tip now, they've new management and they'll be revitalised again, so it's going to be a great championship again next year.
Did you get the house built in the end?
Yeah, just moving in now at the end of the month, so looking forward to that.
Right, it took your mind off hurling for the summer, you were saying, in June, I think. It was almost like a stamp of approval that everybody should build a house at some point during their county career, because it's been your best summer.
Yeah, look, it did help. Yeah, every second I did a break. I'm a primary school teacher, and I often find that you have 2 months off there, you get really bored.
Yeah,
you do. And
the teachers will start texting in now saying it's not an easy job.
Yeah, it's not at times, but. It was great to have some distraction. Like, I remember we were playing Wexford on a Saturday, and the night before I was putting insulation in until 10 o'clock.
Right.
It was just, you weren't even thinking about the game coming ahead the next day. So it was satisfying as well to see a massive project that you were kind of on come true, and looking forward to moving in now at the end of the month. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, best of luck with it. Colm, congratulations on your award. Yourself and Paul, you picked up football awards this year. Like, when you look at Tyrone's season, when I look at Tyrone's season, I do wonder, was their lack of credit given to you this year. Like, it was your first All-Ireland since 2008, and there was never a sense that anybody gave you the credit for being the best Tyrone team in the last 10 years. But really, if you look at the figures, if you look at the way you came back after what happened the previous year, it's a reasonable case that was the situation.
Yeah, look, we dissect our season into small parts, and you look at it. We started off, obviously well enough in the league, and coming to the championship, getting beat the first round of Ulster Championship, it was it was time to look at ourselves, and we did. We really looked at it, really dusted ourselves down, looked at where we need to improve on, and started a platform after that. And yeah, we were lucky at times. Meath probably should have had us out the door in qualifiers, and we did rather look at various stages, but we showed a bit of character. The guys dug deep. They were able to sort of realise, we need to sort of move on from what we were doing, and it obviously wasn't good enough last year. So we tried to adapt an approach, a bit of a slightly different approach than we did in the prior year, and look, it brought us to a place. Our first obviously aim was to get to Super 8s and see where that took us, and obviously we're able to beat Donegal in the last game to get us into the semi-finals. And some of the games were very. I was talking to guys last night, and Tyrone supporters were saying it was one of the best years Tyrone have had in terms of viewing and watching the games, and that was nice to hear. But ultimately fell short, of course, at the last hurdle and whatnot. But overall, we have to be satisfied with the year we had, and it's just going to take another few extra steps to catch these guys beside us. So
yeah, like it is definitely true when they say that. Like 3 trips to Croke Park, trip to Ballybofey, and what was one of the games of the summer. Like, and also if you factor into it the low against Monaghan at the start of the year, as a Tyrone fan, that was a roller coaster of a summer. It was a fascinating year to be a Tyrone fan.
Yeah, completely. It says a lot of supporters were thanking us, and we were sort of taken back a wee bit by how much excitement and stuff that we'd give them all year. And you suppose you have to look at some of the games that we did play. There was a lot of scores in a lot of games, and I say some close encounters, some scary moments and whatnot. But overall, they had loved it, and at the end of the day, they followed us through thick and thin. So we're happy enough, but ultimately, you always strive for that big prize.
Yeah, 100%. Paul, you're very welcome. Last time I was chatting to you, you just picked up the award for the Player of the Month for June. Like, you look at last night in both codes for Carlow, 4 All-Stars for the hurlers as well last night in the Joe McDonagh Awards. Like, it's been one hell of a summer for Carlow as a GAA county, hasn't it?
Yeah, I suppose, like, for a small county, that does apply itself to both codes. Like, it's it stretches the county a lot, but like there's a huge for the size of the county, like there is a huge fan base, and they're crying for something to cheer on, I suppose. And over the last couple of years, we've made tiny steps of progress in both codes. Like, and it's been great, yeah.
Yeah, you were speaking this week actually about the Tier 2 Championship, or potentially introducing a Tier 2 Championship, saying it's not what players in Carlow want. Like, does last night sort of hammer home your feeling that you deserve to be in the full 32 county setup when it comes to football, that you're not going to get nominations like you did last night unless you're involved with it?
Perhaps, yeah. I think it's, if I suppose when I was answering questions in the interview that did come out, I was saying, if I had to give a yes or no, I'd say no, because of the current way it's put forward. But I suppose, like, the league is probably the best competition that I feel anyway that the GAA has, in terms of fairness. Teams been playing at the level that they're at, and maybe some proposal where the league was turned into a championship format, if you know what I mean, where you had an opportunity maybe from your division to go on and compete in the higher tier, but not to. I suppose the last time it was put forward, it was completely banishing all Division 3 and 4 teams to a B or a second tier, and I just don't think that's fair. I don't think that's what players want.
Yeah, would you be in favour of something where you just scrap the league and championship as individual things and just meld them into one, where you've got a meritocracy and that is your be all and end all of your championship?
Yeah, I think that will be probably the fair system. But then you have to look at, I suppose, there's a lot of counties with kind of a tradition, and like you look at Dublin and Leinster and like even Tyrone up in Ulster, like they're not going to want to scrap their provincial titles. To us, it probably doesn't mean as much because we haven't won one since, in forever. Like,
you look at the scenes in Tullamore this summer, and
yeah, but they were the days. That's what I always kind of, my mind goes back to it, and I think that, like, I didn't think I'd have a day like that in a Carlow jersey, and that was just a random win. Do you know what I mean? But like, it meant so much to us, and I didn't even know how much it was going to mean until I saw what, when you were there yourself that day, just what it meant on the field that day, the feeling the players got and the supporters had. Like, it was you can't. I don't know if you could create that in a B or a second tier championship.
Yeah, it was certainly, speaking from first hand, it was definitely one of the scenes of the summer that day down in Tullamore was unbelievable. Johnny, I do want to come back to that in a moment, the championship structures, but one thing I did want to ask you about, Johnny, was, in case I forget about it, is the Sergio Ramos comparisons that you've been labelled with this year.
You started.
I did start it, and I intended it as a massive compliment, and I got pulled out of all proportion when Owen Mulligan stole my line and used it then. It is a compliment.
I don't know if it's a compliment. This is the number one thing that I got asked the last 6 weeks, so I guess it's picking up traction. I don't know what way to take it, yeah. Well, you started it, so you tell me what it means.
Well, it's basically somebody you'd want in your team.
Okay, fair enough. So, I'll take that.
That's where the comparisons begin and end. From your summer looking back, the question I'm sure you've been asked tons is, how do you possibly keep the hunger? And I think when you look at your situation in particular, you look at someone like Owen Murchan, your own club mate coming into the squad this year, that unbelievable depth that you have all around the county, even outside of the backup squad, even there's quality players who could play for a lot of other counties in the country there, and it's pretty much a no-brainer. I don't know why people ask you, where does the hunger come from, because it's clearly because of turning around and looking over your shoulder on a constant basis.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's a testament to probably, it's probably a boring enough answer, probably a testament to the Desi Farrells and people who have brought the guys up from underage and put them in, I guess, a position to maybe compete at this particular level. But yeah, no, you do have a lot of young guys there. Even Owen Murch came in this year, and Howie and a few other guys that are, I guess, excelling on the top stage. But they probably themselves would say they took a year or two, I guess, to get to that level. But yeah, certainly when you're looking over your shoulder from my or other positions that maybe lads have been there a few years, you're seeing these younger guys that don't have any fear and don't, I guess, have any lack of belief in what they have, and they have a lot of confidence, and they're obviously very skillful too. But yeah, they certainly bring a lot to the table. I guess it's a good balance to have, a good mix to have, in terms of if those younger guys chomping at the bit and maybe older guys somewhere in the middle. You can't, I guess, get complacent, and if you do, you'll be fairly sure in the wrong position, you won't be playing.
Have you changed anything about your game to ensure that you stay in that starting team?
I just try to compete with the guys and to try to be, I guess, better than them in terms of preparation and that sort of thing. I personally believe you get what you deserve, so if you put in the work and all the other stuff behind the scenes, as I'm sure all the lads do anyway, but I guess just trying to keep on top of that the whole time, and not, I guess, resting on your laurels because you've won something or you happened to play last year or whatever. It's kind of I always think we put your jersey back into the bag after each game and you just go try get it again, and whatever that takes. So I guess starting from zero and trying to go from 100, yeah, it's difficult, I guess, because there's loads of other things, such a big commitment that goes into it, and there's maybe other distractions or other work commitments, etc. But yeah, no, just try to keep going back to it myself, and hopefully next year be no different, and just try go into the O'Byrne Cup and go from there again.
Yeah. What did you think of the Super 8s this year?
I really enjoyed it. It was a tough enough turnaround, especially the week gap. I guess that was a challenge in itself, probably more, I guess, on the physical side of things, just turning around and go and play another game. So in that regard, it was tough enough, but I think overall I enjoyed it because of the amount of games in such a short period of time. It was certainly, as I said, a challenge, but I guess on the other side it was, well, I found it very enjoyable. I guess trying to match those targets, I guess, in those short periods of time. But I don't know what people out there think of it, but I certainly enjoyed it.
I think it gets a bad rap, personally, the Super 8s, in terms of the first year that we saw put down. I think up in Oma, I think that game gets forgotten about as one of the great games of the summer, to be honest, because I don't know, was it a rare thing enjoying Dublin in the last 8 and actually having a really big contest? And you'd think in an alternate universe, if Paddy McBrearty was fit for that Donegal game in Croke Park, how much better that game could have been, despite the fact that it was pretty good for a lot of the game as well. So I think it gets a pretty bad rap. Myself and you, John, are the two outsiders when it comes to the Super 8s this year. You can speak firsthand how a great championship structure can actually lead to just a fantastic summer of enjoyment for every single player.
Yeah, big time. Look, as I said earlier on, probably the most enjoyable thing was the league for the last number of years. The Hurling League was very competitive, and huge 6 games that were really week in, week out, and you really enjoyed it because you hadn't time to dwell on a bad performance. It was, you were looking forward to the next game every week, and you saw it with the Hurling this year. It was just a super format, and the teams that are there now, there's so many competitive teams. It's fantastic to see. There's everyone's back in the mix again in the pack, and as I said, Waterford and Tip have new management. You see Kilkenny weren't far away, and everyone's building again. And look, 2019 should be a great championship again. And I think it's great that you have the home and away. Like I know you were on about the Super 8s. I know the games in Croke Park and stuff, but that game at Ballybuffet, it was a massive atmosphere, packed house, and we did the same thing above in Ennis. There hadn't been games in, I think it was 20-25 years. So
does it help hurling that there's less games in Croke Park? I wonder that it's just more provincial grounds, more packed atmospheres.
It's more intimate. Like I know going into that game that day, like the place was buzzing. You hadn't seen if you're in Ennis, the small, tiny streets, like one way up, and just to go into like the Cusack Park is just right off the main street, and just the place was packed. It was just and Limerick people coming up in the train, and as you were coming into the ground, it was just, you could just sense that atmosphere, that it was we call it the shed. They start hitting the shed, the galvanise, and when we start scoring, and it just adds to the whole thing, and you can hear the people that are roaring at you. Those voices from years gone by over teams, and it was really intimate and really that stuck in my memory anyway last year, and looking forward to playing there again next year.
Paul, what was your view of the Super 8s when it was initially suggested? Because straight away you could say that that's elitist, and I suppose it probably is. People who are guaranteed to make the Super 8s, it's more games for them, it's better for their county boards, more people through gates and stuff, an extra big game for them basically every single summer. Were you a little bit annoyed with that at the start when it was announced, or were you saying to yourselves, actually we've got a chance of making this thing?
I suppose initially we didn't think we'd much of a chance of making it, but it wouldn't annoy me. Like I didn't think it would have much effect on us. And then I suppose with the victory over Kildare, and we obviously, despite losing to Laois 3 times, we obviously thought we could possibly take them in the Leinster semi-final. And we knew then, like, regardless of what happened against Dublin, you're only a game away. You always have that. You're probably going to aim a little bit higher than what you can achieve. And I think you kind of have to at times. But like we certainly didn't look at it as. I don't know what would have happened as we got there, but we certainly didn't look at it as being completely out of reach.
Yeah, I wouldn't have said so, especially after Kildare, obviously, because then you had a 50-50 game against Laois, which is obviously very close, and as you said, then it would have been one game away no matter what happened against the Dubs. Like it is, I found that statistic last week, though, from Paul Flynn in his Irish Times editorial, saying that 60% of footballers would support a tiered championship. I found that statistic quite surprising. Like, were you surprised with that as well, that there is over half of the people who play inter-county football who would actually support breaking this thing into 2 tiers?
I was surprised to see the figures, yeah. It'd be nice to see a breakdown and look at exactly who is in support in terms of, like, are they teams at the teams at the kind of latter end of the championship now, or are they teams in the bottom of Division 4? Or, where is the kind of split in it? I'm not sure. Like I said before, when you're coming down in a hard yes or no answer, it's kind of a no for a tiered championship for me anyway, personally. But again, if you were to put something forward like bring the league into a championship format, put it in the summer, I don't think too many people would be opposed to that, because like John alluded to there in the hurling, like it's, the hurling was just an absolute spectacle to watch this summer, all summer, like both championships, the Leinster but particularly Munster. And like I think that something like that in football where teams are competing against teams that every week they have a chance of beating, not once in 60 years type of stuff. Like, while it was great, we're not, I suppose, delusional to think that it's going to happen every year.
Definitely, yeah.
But yeah, I think certainly there's grounds for something like that to be put forward, yeah. It's
interesting that you say that, because one of the proposals that was put forward a couple of weeks ago was from the Wicklow County Board, saying that basically your provincial championships would be played as normal, that you would still have your day against Kildare this summer, but then after you lost to Laois, you would have then dropped into a Tier 2 championship, and there would have been a Super 8s within that as well. So you would have got your big games at the same time of the year that Colm and Jonny are getting them, and you'd have got your chance at creating a bit of history against Kildare as well in the same year. I felt that was, it met it sort of in halfway, it kind of went halfway there. Like, again, you're still playing the National League, and your seeding is based on your National League basis from the start of the year, so there is a few downfalls from it, but that sort of ability to keep those moments of magic in the summer and leave it open to playing teams on your similar level is probably a good thing.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that until you just mentioned it there, but it sounds like something that could work, because like you said, it's given teams a chance, particularly like like Carlow, teams like Carlow that want a chance, at the big day, to create the atmosphere, like to bring teams, like in the last 3 years we've played Dublin and Portlaoise, 2 years, sorry, we've played Tyrone and Carlow, Monaghan and Carlow. Like, those games just don't come about, and like too often. And the Carlow fan base, like, if after the games, Carlow's a small place, and like John said, you hear names shouting, like in Netwatch Cullen Park, like I hear lads shouting, you know, you nearly know them, you could nearly shout back at them, and like I just feel that, you know, after the games we go down the town and like it's the same group of a couple of hundred or 1,000 people that are there. It's almost like a club atmosphere, like, and you know, I know the kind of the games against Monaghan and Tyrone, Dublin, they build, you know, they build a lot of character kind of in the town. They bring people together regardless of the result. I think there were great days for Carlow. And yeah, I wouldn't like to see those taken away, but it's certainly something that could work.
Yeah, potentially. There's a few other ones I'm sure that'll be up for discussion over the next couple of months as well. Just a reminder that you are listening to or watching, if you're joining us online, that the Saturday panel is brought to you as ever with Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products. You can tweet us at Off The Ball if you've got any questions for the lads, or you can text us as well at 53106. It's still Bournemouth 1, Manchester United 1, 49 minutes played there. Colm, just on that, in terms of the championship structures, as a man who plays in the Ulster Championship, it's one of the other downfalls as well is the inequity between all the different provinces, that you look at someone like Kerry who can go through the summer, start later because it's a smaller province, and at the moment it's sort of weak, but Ulster, it's a stacked province and it's fairly big as well, so you're playing early and you're playing hard teams. Like, is there an injustice there that you ever feel, or do you just get on with it?
I'd probably just get on with it. We don't tend to look too far outside of your own, and Ulster, to be fair, Ulster has been competitive over the last number of years, and there has been you know, any team in Ulster will go out and feel that they can actually do the business and, you know, turn teams over and that. So it's a difficult one. You know, in terms of around the Super 8s and that, there's probably pluses and minuses for it. We personally obviously got the benefit this year, losing to Monaghan obviously in Ulster Championship, and then losing to Dublin in the Super 8s gave us that chance to keep going. But inevitably, like, I think that the stronger teams that get into Super 8s, you know, having that chance to lose a game instead of go on is going to leave that the stronger teams are going to be at the latter end of the stages every year. Like.
Say if you, in a strange world where you might be playing for someone like Antrim in Ulster at the moment, but what do you think your views would be on the Ulster Championship and the way the Championship is set up in general?
It's difficult. You know, Paul said, like, there's going to be an awful split, and you know, you always want to have them big days. You know, you're talking about Antrim there. They will always want to. They haven't had the success that the likes of a Tyrone or Monaghan or whatnot have had over the last number of years. So I'd say there's a big split there. So the guys them big days, you know, playing in Clonus, you know, playing Tyrone and Antrim, and Clonus is a big day, and you know, everyone looks forward. It brings a great crowd, great atmosphere. But you know, ultimately, then you have to look at how many more games are they getting down the line, and you know, there is going to be a split. I think Paul hit it on the head. There's a lot of good things that having them big days out, but there has to be a shift in some shape or form to try and level the playing field at some stage. In terms of fatigue, in terms of how your body felt this summer with more games, do you actually feel that you were fresher because you were doing less training and less hard training during the summer? Completely. As a player, you know, week on week games is what you want to be doing. Jonny said it there. It is difficult to recover in a week after playing an intense game, and you know what? For us, it actually boded well, and we have a strong squad, and we're able to rotate and, you know, give guys game time, which, you know, obviously was a great benefit. I personally would rather be training or playing matches week on week than training, so I find that part of it was brilliant and really advantageous. But yeah, it's tight for, you know, test the squads. You have to have, you know, any squad with, you know, you looked at Dublin, the likes of Dublin, and to have that, you know, squad, and you're replacing like for like every week. You know, you have to have that, and if you don't have that, your squad can wear thin, and you know, that's where teams may struggle. So we're lucky enough that we probably do have a lot of guys that can come on and probably feel hard done by not starting on any day. So that side of it, you know, playing matches, no player wants to be training. Yeah. You know, having that 4-week gap or whatever it is to the next game, because you know, you're going to have a couple of hard weeks of real tough training, and you know, having just literally shifting your focus, playing a match, recovering that next day, and actually re-shifting your focus to the next game is brilliant in my opinion. You know, I'd rather be doing that all day. Yeah. Are you going to get an off season now this year? Because obviously last year with the club, I don't think you got one at all. I didn't get out. No. We were working it out the other day. From like November 16, I'd played right through. So the All Ireland this year, and then Moy as well after the All Ireland this year. Yeah, well, that's it. The Moy finished around February this year, and then
So it's from November 2016 all the way
right
through December 2018.
And yeah, to November 2018. So it was just, I suppose personally for me, it was a difficult enough one, in that I came back then after that into the setup. I played the league game against Monaghan, and then subsequently got injured messing around at training at one of the nights, and I was made for 6 or 7 weeks. So that really tested me mentally as well, and physically. Obviously had a long way back after that. Tore my quad and hip flexor. So it's been a long road for me for 2 years. A great, obviously great memories and great times made it, during that. But I'm really looking forward to having that wee bit of downtime now between now and Christmas, and reevaluating after that.
Out of interest that you mentioned there, is that your first hip injury?
Yeah, like I've been lucky, as I touch wood, that I've played 11 years now, and I haven't in the last 6-7 years. I had no real major injuries, and it's I'm feeling good, feeling fresh. And then at the end of training, I decided that I was going to kick an outside of the left boot shot with as hard as I could, and probably not the smartest idea, because I used to go. I would never do it. I would go straight into training and get after training, no shooting, straight into the physios. But this one night, I thought I'd have a crack at it, and felt the quad and hip flexor just pop, and that was me out for I was out for 6 or 7 weeks, and probably should have been a wee bit longer, and I struggled probably right through the qualifiers to try and get built up again for the latter season. So
it's mad that you actually mentioned that, because one of the things that Paul Flynn also says in his article last week was that 40% of intercounty GA players have got no off-season at all, and then he mentioned the problem with this is that we're going to see a huge increase in the amount of hip injuries, and that's going to be worrying. So you fit the exact mould of what Paul Flynn was talking about to a certain extent. Yeah,
possibly, but I didn't feel. I felt fresh. I said kept playing, and sometimes people say, I think it's more mentally you feel a wee bit drained, but physically I felt really good coming back into the Tyrone setup after the club success, and was actually raring to go again, and but obviously albeit that that happened and that, but I think that was a freak injury, and that I was doing something that I shouldn't have been doing at the end of training, and not more so. It was more like an impact. It wasn't really something that had actually flared up over time. So yeah.
Did it go over the bar?
The funny thing is, I don't know, but the guys did say that it went over the bar. But I'd have to take the word, because they were too busy laughing at me from falling with pain. So, yeah.
Johnny, there's always a perception that Dublin have it off to a T when it comes to structure around getting an off-season and things. I suppose it's been helped over the last couple of years. I suppose you had Vincent's 2 years ago going deep into the club championship. It remains to be seen how far Kilmacud Crokes go, but basically there's a nice spread of clubs that if one club goes deep into the club championship, it doesn't affect you too much, that the majority of your squad get some bit of an off-season.
Yeah, definitely. I think Vincent probably won it the last few years, and we probably only had 1 or 2 from Vincent's, and even this year I think there's maybe 2, possibly 3 from Crokes that will play next weekend, and possibly maybe if they win or whatever. But in fairness to Jim, we don't he doesn't talk to us really, I guess, till January, and lads will obviously maybe do their own bits till then, but in terms of meeting up our expectation to do anything, there's never anything there, and I think he respects people's I guess time and other things, other commitments that they have, so he doesn't, and that's one of what I found in the last number of years, that's one of the benefits of the I guess November, December time, that you don't get asked to go to X or Y or train this time or that time. It's just if you want to do it, I guess, and you'll have motivated lads that will obviously do it to keep on top of themselves. But yeah, he won't come back till January, and well, hopefully Crokes continue to go and go on as far as they can. But and hopefully the other guys, maybe if they do that, we'll get their opportunity.
What do you do during the off season? Like Michael Dower plays basketball. Do you do anything like that, or is it just mind the body?
No, just kind of not much. Depending on where the club go, and they're out now again. But they have been this time of the year out this time of the year, so I've kind of gotten at least 8 or 10 weeks of just myself. No, I don't really do anything, to be quite honest. A couple of gym sessions, a couple of things like that, but to be honest, I just stay away from the whole thing. I try work are very good to me throughout the year, so I try to give as much time as I can from when the season finishes right through to around March, April time. So try to give them as much commitment as I can because of the flexibility and the time they give me throughout the summer in that regard. So no, I just keep to myself and don't really do much.
Yeah, the key thing there obviously is that everything was wrapped up last weekend. Obviously, Bank Holiday Monday with the football final, the hurling final replay the weekend before. That it's mad to think that the football final for Dublin took place the same weekend as the replay final took place in Wicklow, given the huge disparity in when both counties were knocked out. And I don't know why that is. Like, why is it that some counties, it's obviously to do with structure and things like that, why they end up taking a lot longer than they should when it comes to fulfilling their fixtures. But I guess one of the other things is not fulfilling fixtures during the summer, not playing with the clubs during the summer, even if your county is out, because people are away in America and things like that. And I think one of the comparable situations to Wicklow, because it's a truly dual county and they treat both codes similarly, is actually Carlow, Paul. And I do wonder, like, what was it like on the club scene after you got knocked out in football this year? Was there a sense that, God, you're kicking your heels saying there's plenty of weeks where a championship could be played here and it's not?
Yeah, it was unusual for us. This was last year, was the first year we had to push back championship in my living memory in Carlow, because we went a little bit further than we had before. This year it's kind of always set to be, it starts the end of July regardless of, I suppose at least lads, regardless of how far we get, but at least lads can book holidays or whatnot before, in the gap when Carlow were knocked out and up to championship. The only thing is, I suppose, in Carlow the league is not taken, the club league is not taken as seriously as I've heard leagues like in Dublin are taken. And I think that kind of, there is a huge gap there for club players in Carlow. Like, from kind of, they're probably training in January, February, going back with their clubs, certainly in February anyway. The league starts in March, but yet not all games are fulfilled, and then there's kind of a gap. The league ends in May and there's a gap till July, and I think, it's hard to know what to do with teams. I don't know how. It's very difficult on club managers for them to kind of, if you've 12 or 13 lads, particularly my own club, we've 5 lads currently involved with the Carlow setup, and that does take an impact on the club, and I don't know what the best system is. I know some counties run it kind of during the championship. Again, like Colm says, I'd rather be playing games than, I wouldn't mind if Carlow had a 2-week gap and we had to play a club championship game in between. I don't think you're probably not increasing your chances of getting an injury in that time if you look after it right, as long as you're not training too heavily. Yeah. I think it is possible to mix the two, but I don't know what the best solution is when you're saying that, if Carlow were knocked out, say, on June 1st, for example, should we play a championship from then and have it finished early? But then you might have an 8-week gap till Eoin, for example, this year. I think they have a 5 or 6 week gap till they play in the Leinster Club Championship. And no team really wants that either.
That's true. So there's not a uniformity between all the Leinster counties, which is a problem in itself.
Yeah, I think county boards maybe is the fact that county boards are left to organise their own systems as opposed to it being a central thing. Maybe that's something that needs to be.
Seems like common sense. Yeah, the CPA have been calling for a central body to actually take control of fixtures, and it clearly would eradicate some of the issues that we've had over the last couple of weeks. Just while you mentioned that, what was April like for you? Did you play any club game?
No. Played club league games, but
it didn't seem to work. Lads, I'm not sure what you think, but it worked. Just to use the example of Kerry again, because they weren't out until the June bank holiday weekend, the inter-county teams, so they could leave April and then go training for the month of May. Whereas all of you, I think you all had games in May with your counties, so it was never going to work because you had to train with the county during April if you got a match in May.
Yeah, we were later on, so we didn't have that issue. We did play 2 club championship games, I think, in April, right, what I recall, and that was a complete 4-week gap with the club that we got. But I think we were out maybe a little bit later. Maybe some of the guys we weren't out in May, I don't think, or maybe it was the very end of May or something, so we still had 3 or 4 weeks, but it worked from our point of view because we got 4 weeks away, and it was actually, it was actually a good thing because we'd done maybe 14 or so weeks with and then we kind of got 4 weeks away, so it was sort of like a bit of a refresher, and you also obviously then got to go back to the clubs and give them your time and energy for a couple of weeks. So from my point of view, certainly it worked in that we got a break away from the county and it served that purpose, but we also got to go back to the club and play 2 championship games in the 4 weeks, but maybe other counties were different.
Yeah, it was obviously a very unique year for you with your club, given the problem that you had during the summer where the club might have been shut down for what would have been a decade or something.
Yeah, roughly. I think it was roughly 8 years they're talking about going through the club essentially with the with the Metro line. I think it's still ongoing at the moment.
It's not resolved yet. I thought it had been.
Well, I don't think it fully is. I did see something actually this morning that they'd shelved it or something. I'm not sure. I didn't actually read the full piece, but we haven't officially heard from the NTA in terms of what may happen, or what officially will happen. But certainly there's a lot of support in the club and the locality to Nafina in terms of I guess trying to stop it and trying to keep young people playing on our pitches.
Yeah, because like even if you ever go past that pitch on a Saturday morning, the amount of young people out there training, like it's incredible. It's some operation, and I suppose the detrimental impact that it have in the community if that club was to be shut down for 8 years is incredible.
Yeah, I think so. There's a couple of thousand members, and I think there was quoted or we done it. I guess I sit in our executive board there, and we done a kind of a bit of research on 130 something teams that we have officially playing from under whatever all the way up to adults. So I guess on that one playing pitch, essentially we only have control of one playing pitch, and that's what the Metro is going to go through.
130 teams. That's incredible. John, I wanted to ask you, what's your off season like?
Yeah, like the last, I suppose, 10 years I'm on the Clare panel, and this is the first year I've got actually 7-week break.
Right.
Usually.
Is that because of the club?
Yeah, we were lucky enough. Like we got to the semi-final and final, every year for the last 10 years, and then this year we got knocked out. Within a week, we the first round away in Clare. We have it as the first round was in August. We played Sixmore Bridge and lost that, and then the week after we had the losers kind of group kind of game. And once you lose that, you're out of the championship. So within 2 weeks we were kind of out, and we had to play relegation in the 2 weeks after that, and got out of that then, thank God. But like usually we wouldn't have much of an off season because you'd be back in October, back and doing the gym and collectively, and usually the championship goes on until the end of October. So this is the first time I suppose I've more than 2 weeks of a break, or for the first time in 10 years. So it was good, and it's good to just sit down on the couch and not think of what you have to do like next, or have to go train. Just actually just sit down and watch TV and just take that break. And it's the first time in a long time I'm really revitalised and going back. Really looking forward to going back training, and really looking forward to getting a good pre-season in and enjoying it.
Yeah, mentally you'll be in the right place as well. Like I'm delighted for you because you said during the summer that you blend all your food, so you've actually managed to have a couple of solid meals in the last couple of weeks.
I know that got blown out of proportion. No, it was just on a match day. I was just finding it hard to digest food, so I just came up with a nutritionist. I just asked her, would it make a difference, and she said try it. So, and just on a match day, I'd blend the food before I'd eat it. It wasn't a nice thing, but it seemed to work for me. Yeah, it seemed to work for me, but I just couldn't. And often the matches, like I'd be feeling bloated, or I couldn't eat the pre-match meal that the lads would have because things like onions and all these different things wouldn't agree with me. So we played Cork in the first round this year, and we stayed the night before in Cork, and I didn't have the pre-match meal with me, and I ate it, and then about 10 minutes into the game, and my stomach, I just couldn't move for the whole first half. So at half time I was nearly getting sick, just to try and get it out of my system. So then I said that I wasn't going through that again, so then I started doing that with the nutritionist and stuff. So, but it got blown out of proportion. Yes, I wasn't doing it 24/7.
Like that nutritionist was brought on newly this year by Clare.
Yeah, we'd never had a nutritionist while I was there, so it was great for the whole group. Lads were going around with bacon, lads were cooking different things, and you come to the match and lads would be like, oh, can you try different things, different buns that they were making, and it was really funny.
What sort of buns?
Sweet potato buns and different things. Lads really got into it, so it was just something different.
That's incredible. So as recently as 2017, you could there wasn't too much control on what you were actually eating as an inter-county hurler.
No, she took full control this year, and everyone had access to her 24/7, so she was on board, and she was a big, massive difference to us, I think, and she was really involved and really got in behind the team, and came up with great ideas for us, and really watched what we were eating before and after and during games. So it was she was really good. Growing the Travers, she was really good.
So build a house, blend your food, and you'll win an All-Star next year is what you're saying to any other inter-county hurler.
I don't know about that now.
Just one other thing, lads, before we finish it up. It's a football talking point. It's just on the rule changes. I'd be interested to get your thoughts. We'll start with you, Johnny. Kicking the ball out beyond the 45 line, it means you won't be available for any short kickouts. How do you feel about this dystopian future?
Thank God I don't have to move anymore. I personally don't. I have to see it. I would have to play in it to fully gauge it, I guess. But I'm black and white on paper. I don't fully like it, to be honest. But I can see what they're trying to do. But it's probably in my head and my mind. It's a dangerous enough game trying to, I guess, manipulate rules to have the game play or feel or look a certain way. Look, I guess we're probably going to try them, or certainly a few of them. We'll see how it goes from there. But certainly, on paper, I don't fully see how it's going to work, that kick-out one in particular. There's a lot of ups and downs in terms of how it will work on 6 inside the 40, or whatever, 6 on 6 inside the 45, 2 on 2, and then another 6 on 6 up the top. How would it work? I don't know, there's too many questions, I guess, that I need to myself figure out to see if it will work, but I don't agree with it. I don't even think it's needed, to be honest.
Yeah, does it feel like it's a targeting of Dublin?
I don't know, I think that's the comments that out there, that's the thing that's out there. I think it'll work against as much as it possibly will work for us, and the same with other teams. I think that rule, maybe to kick out one in particular, I'm sure you'll figure out ways to maybe try and, I don't know, people are saying put fast fellas in the middle and, I don't know, kick it into space or different things. So I don't know, it'll probably work against us as much as it work for us, I guess, and the same, I guess, with other teams.
Colm, what do you think?
Yeah, on paper, a lot of them, I just can't sort of grasp and sort of think, yeah, this is going to be a good thing. And Johnny had it there that you're changing rules to try and accommodate people who are commenting on the way the game's played, and people have we've found ways as teams to play a certain way, and now because people don't like it, we have to shift. We're automatically have to shift the focus and shift the rules, and I don't think that's right. I think it's not the best solution. I don't have the best solution on how if they want to make the game more nicer to watch and more exciting. People chatted a lot about the hurling and all, been a lot more exciting than the football this year, and maybe so. But we just teams will have to find ways within themselves to try and obviously catch Dublin and make games more exciting. The rules changes, you can't really gauge, and me personally, whenever I read them, I was like, you can't really say how good this or how bad it's going to be until you actually try them. And I don't mind trying them. I think there's probably a platform there to try, but as long as they're fully evaluated afterwards to actually say, look, what's worked and what hasn't worked. I don't personally agree that we need that many changes in the game, but obviously open to try. And I was joking with the lads that the marks and that and inside the 21 and stuff would suit me to move to full forward and whatnot. So, yeah, and there's going to be pluses and minuses for the rules, but in my opinion, they're probably just a wee bit drastic, and we've sort of just jumped into this to say, look, well, we'll have to try and make football more appealing to people to watch and that, like, and I don't think it's the right way to do it, but completely, actually looking forward to actually taking part and hopefully seeing how they work. And I could be wrong. I could be looking back in a few months' time, going, these have actually worked. And you have to sometimes be open to change. But on paper, reading it and it sort of raised an eyebrow to say, look, maybe this isn't the best thing.
Yeah, it's a wonder you haven't already been put into full forward, given you're outside of the boot shooting and the skills behind that.
Maybe never see the forward line again, really.
Paul, finally, what do you think of it? Like, obviously, you would be the person on the receiving end of those marks inside the 21. The Kildare game this year, you got into a lot of one-on-one positions. It probably would have paid dividends, or they were kind of lower balls going in, I think.
Yeah, they were kind of lower. I suppose, like, it's easy to come up with scenarios, plus and minus. So lad said, like, you could say, oh yeah, well, this will work for us because, or this won't work. Like, if you look at individually, say, like the 3 hand pass rule, you can come up with plenty of negative scenarios, but it could encourage kicking too. It's very hard without actually playing it out and seeing how they actually go. We're going to have to wait and see. And like Colm said there, like, we have a platform in that we've plenty of competitions to try them out in. I just hope they don't ruin, for us, the league is a big thing, and I hope that if they do get in, that they don't change results for the worst for any team. Do you know what I mean? As in, if one team adapts to this quicker than the other, and wins more games, I don't necessarily think, not that it's unfair, but I don't know if it's a drastic change to try and bring in 4 or 5 rules, I think, at the one time. But again, you look at the mark that came in midfield a couple of years ago. I personally thought that would have had a big difference, but it's very little difference in the game, and I think it is a positive thing. It allows, it frees up a player like Colm, who's out there fielding in the middle, deserves a reward, I suppose, for catching a ball in the middle of the field, and the field opens up in front of you if you want to continue playing. It has been a positive, so we'll wait and see, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely touched on it there. I think drastic is probably the correct word to describe this. One last comment from Empower Physio on Twitter. When is the John Conlon blended meals on the go book on sale?
Soon.
We'll have to see. It's not going to be offered this Christmas anyway. Listen, Jonny Cooper, Paul Broderick, Colm Cavanagh and John Conlon, thanks a million for calling in to us this afternoon. We're going to take a quick break. After this, we're going to be chatting football, and just to let you know, the next section of today's show, we will be touching on odds and betting market prices as part of our Premier League preview. Off the Ball and Boyle Sports remind all listeners to gamble sensibly. If you'd like further information, visit dunlewy.net. Don't go anywhere.
Listen back to your favourite News Talk shows at newstalk.com and on the News Talk app.